In episode 7, it's a few days after the events that took place with Jason B kidnapping Ryan and leaving him in that world. Danielle is starting to get concerned because she hasn't heard from Ryan. He was supposed to get back to her, he didn't, and she's wondering what's up, having no idea what actually happened to him. Meanwhile, Jason B is just trying to act like every day is business as usual. Although that day gets interrupted by Detective Mason. Because when Ryan went missing, red flags went up. I mean, he was a pretty prominent guy in the community. People are going to notice when somebody like that goes missing. And according to surveillance footage, the last person he was seen with was Jason in the village tap. Detective Mason asked some routine questions like, what was his mood that day? Did he seem off? And Jason B, just looking to cover his tracks, says, yeah, he was very off. He seemed weird. I don't know what happened. It's crazy. She thanks both Jason and Daniela for their time, and then she heads out. And with Daniela finding out what actually happened to Ryan, she decides to confront Jason B with the vial. She says, this is why I went to Ryan. I followed you to that storage unit, and I found it there. He was supposed to look into it and find out exactly what it was that you were taking. Jason B, just thinking quickly on his feet, says, yeah, Ryan made this for me. He didn't tell you because he was under a strict NDA. He tells her that the serum that was in there allows him to study microscopic objects while he's in superposition. That's not really a good enough answer for Daniela. She asks him if he's using it. He says yes. She makes him stop. He says okay. All of this really is to just put Daniela's mind at ease. She does ask him what's in the storage unit, and he just says it's a lot of stuff for the project. He doesn't get into details. Later that day, Jason B decides to go to his therapy session with Amanda, but it doesn't go well. He completely insults her. He decides to flip the script, and instead of Amanda asking him questions, he decides to start asking her questions, which she doesn't really like because she's not the one that needs the therapy session. But Jason B doesn't stop. He continues on with why Amanda got into the field of therapy. And you can tell from her face that he nailed it. It was never her first love. She had to take care of somebody, and now she feels like she has to take care of everybody, so this line of work just suited her. But it bothers her so much that she kicks Jason B out of the therapy session. And it goes from bad to worse because when Jason B gets home that day, Detective Mason is waiting for him again. They decide to look up Ryan Holder's cell phone records, and they found that the last known location of a ping was in an industrial park with not a lot of surveillance footage. It's pretty clear that Detective Mason thinks that Jason had something to do with the disappearance of Ryan, but she has to kind of curtail the questioning a bit. So she just asks him if he has any idea why Ryan would have went to that location in the middle of the night if he went with him, and of course Jason B denies knowing anything. She has to accept his answers, but as she leaves, she lets him know that there aren't many surveillance cameras there, but if they do end up picking up some interesting footage, she'll be sure to stop by. With now having 2 visits from a detective about Ryan's disappearance, Jason knows he needs to do something about it. Now, he did shut down the box. He didn't completely dismantle it, though. So he heads to the industrial park. He busts a hole through the wall of it so he has a way to get in and out, and he goes to another world. He finds some Ryan that is simply a car mechanic. Doesn't really have a lot going for him. No one's really going to miss him, and he gets this Ryan completely trashed. I mean, so drunk that he has no idea where he is. And that's when Jason B drags him into the box and back to that world, taking him back to Ryan's apartment, cleaning him up and putting him to bed, and hoping that he can play this off like Ryan just went on a bender, even though this particular Ryan that he brought back is terrified. Now, as for Jason A, he and Amanda are continuing to pop through worlds, but they're running out of vials quickly. They don't have many left, and that's when Amanda takes charge and decides to take him to a Chicago that is pretty close to a utopian society. There aren't many complaints. It's beautiful. Everyone's embracing technology and education and all that. And yes, it is far from the world that Jason left, but it's pretty nice and it's a good distraction from reality. They head to a bar later that day. They have a really good time, and they decide to grab dinner that night. And it's at dinner where Amanda tells Jason that she's not getting back in the box. She looked up what happened to herself in that world, and herself went missing. And the similarities between that world's Amanda and herself are, well, there are a lot of them. Since that world's Amanda was never pronounced dead, Amanda, thanks to an app, is able to quickly get a passport. and live out her days in this world. She's just going to assume this Amanda's identity, completely content. At first, Jason A is a little pissed off. He's like, "You're abandoning me?" She says, "No, Jason, I want you to stay with me." Because whether he likes it or not, Jason A has developed feelings for Amanda. And the feeling obviously is mutual because Amanda already fell in love with one Jason, and this Jason's just kind of better. And while Jason A does consider staying in this world, ultimately he decides, I can't. I got to go find my Daniela, even though that's going to be very, very difficult. He actually wants to give her some of the vials just in case she decides this world isn't for her, but she says, "Jason, no world is perfect. I'm going to make a home in Seattle where everybody's forgotten about me, and I'm going to live out my days." He then stands up, they share a hug, then they share a kiss, and Jason A leaves. Amanda is seemingly right behind him, and it seems like on the elevator ride down, she does have some regrets because it looks like she kind of chases after him a bit, but it's too late. Jason A has gotten in the box, and he's headed to his new worlds. He's only got 3 vials left, and after 2 trips, it's looking real bleak. The second to last vial, he actually makes it to a world that's pretty similar to his, and he goes so far as to sneak into his house. He's slowly starting to understand even more how Jason B did to him what Jason A did. He even considers it. But as he's trying to leave that house because he realizes that's crazy, Charlie comes down, or at least he thinks. It turns out actually it's Max. Because in that world, Max survived. And Jason is able to say goodbye to his son one last time, although the conversation is pretty contentious. It doesn't go real well. But at least it gives Jason A some closure. Jason gets back into the box and he has 1 vial left. He has to make it count. So he decides to write the most descriptive detail about his Daniela, how they met, and it works. The last vial has led him to his world. Jason A runs home. Running past the theater, by the way, that's very interesting because the movies that are playing at this theater, I just want to point out, are It's a Wonderful Life, Summer Frost, which is a movie about a last chance at hope, and the movie Upgrade. So, solid job by the creators. But anyway, back to the storyline. Jason A gets back to his house, but he's very, very careful on whether or not to go in. He's standing on the porch. He's just watching his Daniela, his Charlie, and then he watches Jason B come inside, and he decides, I probably should arm myself. So he heads to a gun shop, but after getting shut down, he buys mace, he buys a knife, and then he leaves. But the weirdest thing happens, because 10 seconds later, another Jason shows up looking to buy a gun. He has the same lines as the previous one. And this isn't Jason B. No, this is Jason C. No, we're just adding Jasons here, folks. There's another Jason running around. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.